Folks, it's 2 days away from the big game, and you know what I'm talking about. September 11th, my Jets are going up those Buffalo Mafia, and it's at MetLife Stadium. But in the meantime, I have to cook a meal. So a lot of meals, because tomorrow I'm having a big picnic at the old house. The old homestead up here in Milford, Pennsylvania, up in the Pocono Mountains. Look at the woods behind us. So I got a bunch of dishes to cook. We start them today, we finish them tomorrow, and we'll eat them until next Tuesday. So let's get started. I'm gonna put this camera down so I can show you what the first dish I'm gonna be cooking, and you're gonna be very interested in how I prepare this. And I hope you pay attention and don't watch just 30 seconds of this, because you're gonna miss the whole point of this video. Because look at me, I'm not even centered. Now I'm centered. Maybe I have to crop this thing. Be patient. Well, my head's, do I have to do this? I probably have to do this. No, we'll try something out here. Hold on. Okay, so we got this beautiful shoulder, this pork shoulder. So we rinsed it, took it out of the bag, and it's pretty dry, but I'm going to dry some more off because I don't want to be handling a wet piece of pork with a very sharp knife. Plus, we have to dry it off to put it in to our cooker here. That's our pressure cooker, slow cooker. It's a pretty nice tool. So there's your hide. Now I know a lot of people, especially down in Tennessee, down in South Carolina, the lowlands, they'll cook it with the hide on. Nah, I'm not going to do that. And I'll tell you the reason why. So I'm going to cut it off. So before I tell you the reason why, I'm going to cut it off. So we just got this really sharp knife. It's a honing knife. And I've cut myself with this knife plenty of times, so I got to be real careful. So let's just cut this baby off. Slice this baby off. Now, we don't want to make this to go to waste. We could deep fry this and make chips and stuff, which is pretty good. But we're definitely not going to cook with it on. And the reason for it is because I'm going to be cutting this baby up and put it in here. I'm not going to cook the whole thing. I want all the sides to get all the marinade, all the juices, all the spices, and cook it all evenly. If you leave it on and you cook the whole roast, well, how's the inside get any spices? How's the inside get cooked evenly? You're left with a timer issue. You got to make sure the outside's cooked. Got to make sure the inside's cooked. It's a big roast. It's 7 pounds. And it has a bone in. And I don't cook it with a bone. So this basically is going to be for pulled pork sandwiches. Now, I know a lot of you chefs and a lot of you home guys, they'll say, the flavor's in the bone. No, not when it comes to pork, I'm sorry. It kind of leaves a little aftertaste with the marrow on a pork. And that's why it's so overly spiced, to compensate for that. We're not going to overly spice this. We want to taste good, clean pork. Not pork that's been cooked in sugar and acids and all kinds of stuff to hide the flavor of the real pork. So there's the skin. Okay, so now let's transfer this to the board. And we're going to trim some more of this fat off. We'll leave some on, but we're not going to trim it all off. Does that make sense? We're not going to trim it all off. We're going to leave some on. So that's pretty good. We don't want that guy on there. Now, okay, there's the bone. So we're going to trim around that bone. We're going to hold it up, and we're going to trim right around that bone, get that bone out of there. We don't want that bone in there. And trust me, the bone is not straight. It kind of moves over here. You get some tendons and stuff. You don't want that in there. I don't want that in there. You guys may want to put it in there. But I want to cook this fast and slow. If that's an acronym, it's going to be cooked faster, but it's going to be on slow. And once you cut all this meat up, you won't take 10 hours to cook this. It'll be about an hour and a half to 2 to 3 hours on low. It'll all be cooked, and it'll all be perfect. Is there something perfect? See, now the bone's all the way up to here. So now we got to start, and we'll go slow now. Instead of cutting off one big chunk, we'll just carve around it. Now the meat's all cut up. I didn't want to bore you with the cutting process. It took me another 10 minutes to cut it all off the bone, and most of it's off the bone. And it's just a thin layer of just fat and bone and skin, and that stuff, we'll feed that to the pigs. No, I'm only kidding. We'll throw that in the trash and dispose of it properly. So now we're going to spice it. So here's my pot, my pressure cooker, slow cooker, all in one. It's a really great pot. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add salt. All right. And look, I didn't forget my spoon. I got my spoon. Now, if you've watched other videos, I've always forgotten my spoon. But that was the first thing I put out today, so I wouldn't forget it. Now we're gonna put a nice heaping tablespoon and a half on all that meat. Okay. Next, we've got some chili rub. Okay, we're not going to put a lot on it. We don't believe in a lot of spices in this kitchen. We want the material, the product to flow through, which is the pork. So probably about a tablespoon maximum of this is a homemade chili rub, but it's just basically chili powder. Now, we're going to do Italian spices, not just oregano. We've got thyme in there, we've got basil in there, we've got rosemary. It's a special blend of Italian spices you can buy in the store. And we're going to lay it down there, another about a tablespoon. Now remember, it's 7 pounds. Cutting that all off, it's down to probably 5 pounds. All right, so you can judge by that. Now we're going to use cumin. Who doesn't like cumin? Now we're not going to heavily do this in cumin. We could, because I love it, but again, I don't know if a lot of people will like it. The people that are coming over, they have all different variety taste buds. Now, let's see. So now let's mix this up because we have 3 more ingredients to put in. And again, I'm coating all sides because there's nothing worse than having an unbalanced product, unbalanced piece of meat, salad, whatever. So you coat all sides so every bite tastes the same. All right, time to hit the pot. We're going to put it in the pot. I know you probably got the lid so you can't see it, but she's in the pot. Okay. Now I messed up my hands. I washed them, believe it or not, I washed them, the gloves, so I wouldn't mess up the spices. All right. Next ingredient is beer. All right, a nice beer. I use a light beer because again, I don't want it tastes like beer. I want this instead of putting water in. So I'm going to use about a half a can of beer, and I'm going to drink the next. I'm going to drink the other half. Now we're going to take some apple cider vinegar, and I'm going to try to get it off the lid. That is. Okay, we got it. These old hands don't work as good as they do. And I'm going to put about 4 to 7 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. This acid in it will break down the pork and shred it, and give it the little, they're sweet and savory. Okay. So that's that. So we got the beer, we got the apple cider vinegar. Now a lot of folks are going to add the next ingredient, my secret ingredient, my mystery ingredient, because once you use acid in a dish, you want to balance it with a sweetness. A lot of people put brown sugar. A lot of people put honey, molasses, maple syrup. I'm using hot cocoa. This is a sweetened hot cocoa, and I'm not going to give the brand name, but it's just a cocoa. It's got sugar in it, it's got sweetness, plus it's got that chocolate flavor. It's going to kick this pork up to a new level. And I'm going to put about, about 3 tablespoons in. Now I know you folks, if you've been watching channels and you've been going to a lot of cook-offs and stuff like that, chocolate is the next peanut butter for when you're making chili. Everybody's experimenting with different flavors. The chocolate, I'm not even going to stir it in. I'm going to let the steam come and just gently go, and then I'll stir it up in about an hour or so. That's it. Salt, apple cider vinegar, a can of beer, cumin, Italian spices, chili spices, and the chocolate. I think I said it, but we'll repeat it. We're going to close the lid, and then we're going to cook. We're not pressure cooking, we're just going to cook it. All right, so I'm just going to put that on, plug it in electric on the table, and we'll see you in maybe 2 hours, and then we'll show you how this comes out after 2 hours. See you in 2 hours. Well, I know you're not going to sit here and watch me 2 hours because I wouldn't upload this then. But we'll see in a little